Rodney Rogers, who had served many years. In fact, he was at one time president of the Norwood Historical Society, but he served a number of years on the chamber board. He's at the front table there. Also want to call your attention to a document he wrote dealing with one of the early industrialists of Norwood, Charles Fowl. I want to just express our appreciation to your service on the board and to the community. And if you get a chance, you might want to pick up a copy of this. How can they get it, Rodney?
Oh, I just sent it to the board members. How would you like for me to do it?
Can they go on the Norwood Historical Society website and get it?
I'll tell you what, I'll put it up there.
Okay. Just to give you a hint, you might want to read something about it. There are some haunted areas in Norwood, and one of them apparently is at the end of Mentor Avenue when you're going into the Xavier campus. And I've been down there enough years before I knew about it, and it's a little creepy. I will tell you that. Okay. Rodney, once again, thank you. Will we see you on the transit bus next July at the parade?
Probably.
Okay. Our featured speaker today is the 25th mayor of the city of Norwood. This is according to the Norwood Historical Society. Mayor Snyder has held numerous positions within the city of Norwood. In addition to being mayor, he was director of public service, superintendent of public works. He was a 3-term city council member and appointed mayor, and then in 2019 elected as mayor. He also holds a certification as a firefighter, a police officer, as well as a certified and licensed community association manager. He's worked for 18 years, town properties and property management in various roles, and is currently its regional vice president. He has a foundation of high-level service and exceeding expectations. He's also led many challenging positions in which he raised the standard of customer service. Mayor Snyder is an advocate of lifelong training and education and professionalism and service to others. And I'd like to also add, I commented to him before the meeting started that his presentation last year was the best I have ever heard of a mayor of Norwood in conciseness and comprehensiveness. And he told me, expect more this year. So I'm not. So, Mayor Snyder.
Well, that was quite a setup. We'll do our best. That's, I think, all we can do. Hopefully, all of you can see and hear this presentation as we go through. It is an honor and a privilege to be here and to present the state of the city once again. We've made some great strides. Let's make sure my computer's going here. Looks good. So agenda we're going to do, and some of these slides you'll say, hey, I've seen that before. You're right. I reconstituted and brought things together. It's been refreshed. It's a whole new presentation. But we're going to go through sort of a 2000 year in review, 2023 extended outlook, and some of the philosophy that we're going through with this. So these are the different recaps of the process that we'll go through. Progress. With the police department, notable accomplishments for this year, and they continue to provide a high level of service and very efficient and effective policing within our community. We've upgraded the headquarters. You might have noticed that we have more female police officers on our force now. So we upgraded the headquarters to accommodate some of the requirements there. So we should be in good shape for years to come and putting together a better and better workforce. First responders, quick action. You know, when you think about the police department, a lot of times people just think about the traffic stops and, you know, they're watching to make sure I'm driving right. But most of their responses are first responder, and they're the first person on the scene, whether that's a fire or whether that's a domestic violence, and their response time is quick and efficient and effective. We've got a good staff of officers that are on patrol, and then a sergeant, and the city is broken into 4 different quadrants, so there's beat officers in those areas. They have an everyday impact on the lives that they touch. When you talk about first response, we had a big fire this last year, and they were actually the first people there. They helped get people out. They helped save lives before the fire department, before they could even get there. The police are there, and they recognize that is their role. Quick positive impact. And then there's the smaller impacts. You know, one of the people, there was a person that was looking for one of the dialysis centers that are surrounding the area, waved down one of the police officers to say, we've got a problem. And the police officer not only looked up, you know, where the dialysis center was that they needed to go, but then provided them sort of the guide, an escort. They didn't turn the lights on, but they did provide them with an escort to get them there. And it's just small things like that where they're helping on a regular, everyday basis. They recognize that we are all in this together, and I think they all work in a way that recognizes I'm a person and you're a person, and we're all trying to get things going. So it's important. I've said many a times that our police department, and I'm talking in reference to the City of Norwood Police Department, police officers are, you know, fathers and mothers, brothers, sisters. They're our children. These are the police officers that are in our community. They are grandchildren. These are the people that are wearing the badge and helping us every day. But that's only in the City of Norwood. None of the other police departments are that way. No, every police officer is that way. Every police officer has a family. Every police officer wants what's best for the community, and that's what they're really trying to do out there. So just keep that in mind. I ask. Supporting our school district, they've worked on, you know, traffic calming and speed reduction, and they've worked within our schools helping out. And we've got a great school system that works well with our police department. And then standard crime fighting activities, you know, removing various unwanted individuals, the criminal element, and they're out there. And you can say, well, what are you calling them unwanted? I'm telling you, I don't want a burglar working in my neighborhood. That person is unwanted. So they do work on taking care of that stuff. Theft, aggravated robbery, assault with a deadly weapon cases. These are things that these people are touching every day. The drug task force is hard at work. One thing that I notice is that over the last 2 years, we have not had a lot of media about our drug task force running into a huge cache of fentanyl or guns. We haven't had any huge arrest in the City of Norwood. And you can, on one hand, I'm sure there are some people that would say, well, they're not working hard enough, because I know it's still out there. But they've worked hard, and they did a lot of work to put us in the position we're in now. Drug dealers don't want to come to Norwood. They don't want to set up shop in Norwood. They're scared. They know we've got the resources, and we put the resources forth to make sure that we get them. So hopefully we're not going to see any more of that. We're not going to see where the media's in saying, you know, look at all the guns and all the drugs they took out. No, we don't want that in Norwood. We don't want that. So they've done a good job at that. We're hiring, we are training, and we are retraining, and we are enforcing good policing and really working hard to make sure that our police department does the job at hand and does it well. Keep going. I got to stay up on my slides too, don't I? Police Officer Training Center, I talked about this last year, and it's fully up and operational. Community policing, diversity training, leadership training, officer safety and wellness, de-escalation tactics. These are all items that every police department should be looking at and should be working on, and we continue to work to get these things going. The Citizens Police Academy, the Junior Police Academy just kicked off. We've got in the next year, we're going to have a change of leadership. The police chief will be changing in the next year, and it's going to be interesting to see how a new chief comes in and what different tactics he wants to bring to the table. As the mayor, I can provide some guidance, I can provide some direction to them, but ultimately, these are career police officers. They've been fighting crime their whole life. I have not. So the police chief and the fire chief are critically important to setting the direction of that department. And I step back and you know, they definitely move forward with their own initiatives, and they should. I can give them some of my own initiatives and ask them to move a certain way, but they're the professionals. This is what they do for a living. Available, the one thing I didn't say, the training center over there is available for business, safety training. If you've got something going on that you feel is necessary, you can contact the police chief, you can contact the mayor's office, and we can discuss maybe putting together a program for your business that would help, something that maybe you see as an important aspect of it. Then working through the fire department, this is sort of an interesting part. Total response is 7,804 from our little fire department here in the city of Norwood, a 17% increase over 2021. Now, you'll recall, when we went through COVID, everybody was home. There were less responses. There were more people at home, but there was less responses, and we definitely have an increase in numbers there on runs. Emergency medical runs, 3,500. It was roughly 3,000 in last year in 21, the previous year. Average arrival time, and this is something that always sort of gets me, is the fire department said we're 6 seconds better this year. 6 seconds. I'm like, okay, chief, that's great. It is. It really does make a difference if it's a life-threatening illness or something going on where. But 6 seconds, 3 minutes and 39 seconds. So if you call them 3 minutes and 39 seconds, they're there. And that's pretty darn impressive. That's in the city of Norwood, surrounded by the city of Cincinnati. Ask Cincinnati what their response time is for a paramedic to be at your door. It's a little later. Busiest month was June. We had a lot of fires this year. We had quite a few different house fires this year. We had a firebug in the community, and they found that person towards the end of the year. He wasn't just working our community; he was working Cincinnati also. But that's attributed. There's a couple of fires that are attributed to that firebug, and we've gotten that past that now. Over 5,000 hours in training. We put a new fire engine in service this year. We got a new ambulance ordered this year that won't come in until 2024. And I know we're in 23 now, but we've got to order equipment now. The lead time on all the equipment is much longer. And then they were, again, the fire department, the paramedic unit, honored again as top-level cardiac and stroke care provider by the American Heart Association. This is a picture of that ambulance, that new fire engine that you've seen out there. And we're going to have to continue. These are large capital expenses that we have to hit on. So we've got another ambulance coming, and then we've got to look at a ladder truck, and all these things have a service life to them. They are providing emergency service, so they all have a service life, and we continue to work to move forward with that, make sure we're on track. Public Works. So interestingly, when I first took over as mayor, we pretty quickly put in C-Click Fix, which is an app, which is a program so that community members can report a pothole or report a light out or report all the different things that our Public Works Department should be doing on a regular basis. 792 request tickets completed, 227 for potholes. And actually, we're down on potholes. We did such a good job last year. We cut down on the amount of potholes, but they're opening back up all the time. So if you want to talk about potholes, see me later, I guess, if you need to. But it's a constant effort. It's just the region we live in. I mean, we're going to have that. About 163.2 tons of hot mix. That's a little bit less than 2021. Hot mix, we use a trailer. They put this hot mix, which is basically the blacktop, into this trailer that's heated. They go out and fill potholes. The hot mix is a much better application. They used to use cold mix. Cold mix doesn't stay in the pothole. The pothole opens back up. So we're using it, but we're using less of it because we're not repeating our work as much as we were, right? Brush removal. I'd said it before, we've got 60 miles worth of streets in the city of Norwood, 60 miles. It's a lot of street. Snow and ice control, stormwater removal, service repairs. Instrumental, I think we had a great holiday lighting display this year again, and they put up the lights and take care of all that. This is a big part of what Clint Zimmerman, our superintendent of public works, is doing. He's spending a ton of time, and Clint's got a lot going on, but he works extremely well with Noah Powers back in the safety service director, and him work hard on making sure that all of these projects are going right. Installation of a 36-inch sewer on Mentor Avenue. David, you wanted, that was one of the things that David was working with the city for years, saying we got to get this replaced, and we moved that forward. So it took a long time, but big projects take a little while. 8-inch water main and new service lines on Regent Avenue. And if you've been on Regent Avenue, it was a street that was in pretty terrible condition. Put all new water main down through there, and also Clint went out and got water H2O Ohio grant money. Correct me if I'm wrong, Noah. You know, if you say, wait a minute, I did that, but Clint was working on that. Noah has to be involved in all of this stuff, but Clint worked on that to get this new service lines ran from that new water main going into the homes. And if you'll recall, some of our housing stock is getting a little bit old, like 100 years old. So the service lines are 100 years old. You don't replace the service line unless it goes bad. But in these instances, we were able to replace the service lines going into the house, which is a huge improvement. Regent Lane Avenue, both being reconstructed. Managed the resurfacing on Mills, Floral. 20 storm sewer lines and catch basins were repaired. So we are putting money into the infrastructure. And this is something new for the city of Norwood. We typically did it all just sort of reactively, no proactive improvements. We are definitely working to do proactive improvements to these storm sewers, the catch basins, and those areas. And then coordinating and managing the replacement of pedestrian signals on Montgomery and Lawn, just the standard stuff. But Clint is, it's hard because you say, we've got some money, let's spend it, let's get this project going, and that's all good. But who's going to administer it? How's it really going to take shape? How do you move forward with it once you allocate the money? City council can say, hey, we'll give you $1 million to replace that street. That's great, but then somebody has to coordinate all that. And Clint and Noah have done a great job at working with all the other entities and making sure that things move forward. So, residential water meter replacement. This is a big one. It was one that's probably been due for the last 30 years. Again, we have a municipal water system that's been in place for 100 years. And some of it's newer and some of it's older. Water mains, a mechanical water main or water meter, a mechanical water meter starts to lose its accuracy over the years. When it loses its accuracy, do you think it charges you more or less? It slows down. There's more water flowing through that meter and less being registered on that meter. And we know that. And we did the numbers years ago and said, this is how much loss we have. We know because we purchase water from the Greater Cincinnati Waterworks. We have master meter pits. We know how much water is coming into the city. We know how much money we're billing for the water that comes into the city. And we know what the delta P, what the difference is there. And it's substantial. We've said years ago we wanted to get rid of the water meter reader that has to go around to each house, knock on the door, or use his big chain of keys, use his keys to go in, walk into your house and go down to that meter and take a reading. We knew that was inefficient and we needed to move forward on that. So we've worked, and this is happening right now as we're replacing those water meters. RFI, so they're radio read, which also provides improved accuracy for the billing. And it also mass flow. So if you go out of town and you don't turn off the water to your house, and say the hose on your washing machine breaks, now it's down in the basement and that thing's running full bore for 5 days. We could set this system up so that it'll recognize, wow, there's something going on, and it'll actually give us notification that there's a problem in this house, and we will call that person and say, you're running a lot of water all of a sudden. What happened? Same thing if you're filling your swim pool. We're going to get that notification that says this thing's been on for 4 days, But it's important because when people go to Florida and they come back and they say, they go, we got a $3,000 water bill. Like, yeah, you ran $3,000 through your basement drain, So that's an important part. And then looking at historical flows. A lot of times people will come in and say, there's no way my water's that high. We can look at that and say, well, 3 years ago, here's what, and go right through. And that's information that's needed. The water system and the water office has been a black eye for the city for a long time because we didn't have some of these tools in place. And it wasn't really negligence or neglect on the water department guys who are servicing it or in the office. It was that they didn't have the tools, and we're putting the tools in place. So it's an important aspect of what we're doing. I talked about last year, and I continue to talk. I talked about it when I ran. We're going to try to run the city of Norwood as a business. As much as we can run a municipality as a business, we are trying to do that. With a lot of limitations, don't get me wrong, but we're running it and we're trying to be efficient and effective and customer service friendly. So the Norwood Recreation, concrete restoration at Waterworks Swim Pool, that's the big swim pool we've had. That's our Olympic-sized swim pool. That's a constant improvement process. Norwood Lawn at Victory Park, continued successful events. I better keep moving on myself. If I'm getting back on my slides, somebody, give me that. Come on, what are you doing? Norwood, the lawn, we've had, and I'll show you a couple pictures of some of the events with Norwood together and with the Norwood Recreation Department, and a couple of other organizations have put on some really great events at the Norwood lawn. Rental offerings, this is one of the things that the city always had but really didn't execute very well. We have the lower level at the community center that's perfect. It is a perfect sort of reception hall for a wedding or for a funeral or for a family reunion, but it hasn't been it hasn't been promoted very well. We also have the Worth Room, which is at the Waterworks Pool Complex. And we have a couple of other rental facilities, rental areas that you can use for different functions. So that's an important part. At the recreation building, which we purchased just a couple of years ago, we are working on improving the handicapped accessibility, getting it ADA compliant. That building is an older building, but it's got great bones. Somebody's talked about bones of their home earlier, it's got great bones, and we're making improvements, and there's a lot to offer. And then the senior community center, if any of you have been there, the lower level, we're putting a new ramp in there as you go in to try to upgrade that. This is, the Norwood Recreation Facility offering. So if you're not a member of the Norwood Recreation Department, if you don't have your membership, here's all the different, a list of all the different offerings that they have. And you can see on the right there is the telephone number to call. That's a plug. That's a sales plug. So make sure you do call them. I mean, they've got all sorts of great stuff. The indoor swim pool's working right now. They've got water aerobics and different things going on. And then a couple of pictures of some different events. This was a band and some different stuff going at the Victory Park gazebo. Shakespeare in the Park. I don't know if we'll have Shakespeare in the Park again this year. We had it last year, and we've had it a couple of times. But we'll continue having different events going on. And then this was the movie night at Victory Park on the lawn. And we had some dinosaurs there in the Jurassic Park car. It was a ton of fun. If you missed it, you missed it. But we'll try to do something again. So let's go on to some stuff on City Hall here. City Hall was born, well, you could say born, I guess. 1915, the city of Norwood built City Hall. And I was walking through giving a tour to someone just the other day, and it's just such a beautiful building, and it's incredible. So we had actually one of the areas that I can think about. If you think about City Hall, years past, we had the communications department there, and we had this huge tower that was right off of City Hall. And that tower was removed a few years ago. And when that tower was removed, they said, yeah, we sealed everything up. You don't have to worry about it. But then, of course, it leaked where the penetrations were, and we had to fix that. And it takes a while to get that repaired and then get some of the damage to plaster. So we got all that stuff done. We're putting new windows in, HVAC improvements. It's got an old boiler system. We're putting in some mini split units to try to help the conditioning of the offices. Offices that were previously filled with either paperwork or old equipment have been cleared out, and we're getting them back in service. The water department office was relocated. Treasurer's office has been renovated and is new. The auditor's office is being renovated as we speak. And when I say renovated, first of all, getting the new windows onto it, because the windows were 100 years, they were leaky, drafty windows. Nobody wanted to sit in an office with one of those windows. And then it's really just plaster, painting, new carpet, cleaning them up, because you know, you've got an office that has sat there for that way for 25 years and nobody really moved things and cleaned. You can't move it. So a lot of that going on. We also installed behind City Hall an EV charging station. We have one electric vehicle that we are using for the city of Norwood. We haven't put any gas into it at all yet. I'm hoping we don't ever have to we'll never put gas in that thing, but we've got a charging station that will charge up more than one car. We'll probably have 2 cars. Those are just for driving around the 3 square mile city of Norwood, so it lasts a long time. They're not creating any pollution out of their exhaust pipe. So there's different thought processes on these EV cars, but I still think it's the future. It's what's going to be coming our way. There's no stopping that. We also put in a charging station at Station and Sherman. And that is a public charging station. So if you have an EV car and you're in the city of Norwood, you can stop there and charge up your vehicle. And I've seen many cars sitting there being charged up. Part of the idea was that we put it close to the high school. Maybe we have a science teacher or some teachers. It always seems like that, you know, maybe, wasn't it Rick Moranis and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids that had an electric car or something? So I just figured, you know, what the heck, let's put it close to, not really. It's just a great location to put it. So we've got that and we're moving forward. This is one of the areas that we're working on right now. We've kicked council out of actual council chambers and we're rebuilding, rehabilitating council chambers. If you look at this, right now there's a drop ceiling in council, and this sort of shows the drop ceiling that's there, but it also shows where the diffusers are for the air conditioning system. So when council members and all of us are sitting in there and the air conditioning would kick on, you'd have a diffuser like right over your head blowing air into your ear. And that didn't work. So we're making some changes there. This is on the right side is sort of a drawing of what we're going to do in council chambers. It's funny to say, but what we've looked at is sort of taking it back to what it looked like in 1955, in the 50s. This is what council chambers looked like. There's a soffit area up top, and when council chambers, when the building was originally built, there's a big, beautiful vaulted ceiling inside of there, and they had a couple of skylights up in there. We're not going all the way back to that, but we are going back to the 50s where they did not have the drop ceiling in there, and we're going to go open that ceiling back up. This soffit is still up there. It's all beautiful woodwork. So we're going to open it back up and really just spend some money, time, and effort getting the right audio systems in there, getting the right video systems in there, and making sure that council chambers is operating, functioning as it should. I'm going to try to continue through some of these, but I'll give you the abbreviated version because I don't want to take up the whole time. But future projects, the U.S. playing card site, Factory 52, is going. I'd mentioned, I don't see any of the PLK people here, but I mentioned next year for New Year's, we're going to try to do a ball drop in their courtyard atrium area. They're going to have a great public space, and hopefully we can do a ball drop in there, and everybody can just walk from their house over to Factory 52 for a great time. They are also, we've got the Perry and Derrick site, which is up on Highland Avenue. The Port Authority has that. They've demoed some of the older buildings that were starting to fall apart, and they'll continue with some of the demolition. We don't have a person sort of online for purchasing that land, but we're moving in the right direction, absolutely. The Quality Insight, which I've aptly named 4747 on the Pike. They don't know that yet. I just knew that. We'll see, you know. If it sticks, then I got to name it. If it doesn't stick, what the heck? All they were going to say, all they said was, just call it Montgomery and Maple. Like, Montgomery and Maple? That doesn't sound very appealing. So 4747 on the Pike. You guys all vote for that one when it comes out. But that's a big one. You know, it's funny because they're demoing that building, right? A big high-rise building, and they're using the ball to bust it down. And I keep on telling Noah, quit staring out the window. Productivity at City Hall has went down to nothing because everybody's just staring out the window watching that thing. Not really. A little bit, but not really.
What about Monty and Maples?
How about what?
For a name for it, Monty and Maples.
Monty and Maple?
Isn't that cute?
Oh, that's cute. Okay. If you guys like that better than 4747 on the Pike, okay, all right. All right. Allison Street project. And on Allison, there's a huge two old buildings, very old, that are being rehabbed, potentially demo one and doing some rehab stuff there, purchased from the schools a few years ago, or maybe not even a few years ago, but here recently. And that's the Ventura Group that has done some really great work in the city of Norwood. Small scale as well as some large scale stuff. Remember, they took over the Fidelity Federal Building. That's the Ventura. And I thought that Mimi Razor with Razor Communications was going to be here. She just moved in. They're one of the newest members of the Norwood business community. And I do think they're members already. I think they signed up for the chamber already. Maybe not, but we'll mention that. And then we have some infill projects that Catherine Fitzgerald has been working with us on with Alloy. She continues to find new ways to get things done. We've got the old bingo hall that's on Montgomery Road. We think we've got a new owner in there, and we'll see what happens with that. And then all sorts of rehab projects going on around the city. Whether that's commercially or residentially, there's still just a ton of them going on. You'll see what happens is a dumpster pulls up in front of the place, and within 3 months it's on sale and beautiful. So, and then we're also looking at best use for Norwood facilities. We still have some facilities in the city of Norwood that we're doing some work on, trying to figure out what is the best use for that facility. Specifically, in speaking about that, it's the safety lane building is now prime real estate for something special, but we don't know exactly what it is, and it will come, and we'll work on it. But it's one of those things. So park improvements, street improvement plan is still going on. Residential streets, main thoroughfares, traffic calming. I do want to get into streets a little bit because people want to know what's going on with streets, and this is going to be an important part of it. Is State Route 561, Smith and Carthage. We just had a meeting at City Hall with ODOT, and we were talking about the coordination of repaving that is going to happen on the main thoroughfares in the city of Norwood. The main thoroughfares being Montgomery Road, of course, the Pike, right, 47 on Pike. The Pike, Montgomery Road, also 561, which is Smith and Carthage. That's 561 that comes through. And then the big one, 562, the Norwood Lateral. So there's a huge amount of work that ODOT is planning for all of those thoroughfares. Let's talk about the Norwood Lateral first. Well, I'm on the right one? No. We'll talk about the middle one, the Norwood Lateral. They've got some bridge work that they have to do on the Norwood Lateral. When they do this work, they are going to shut down the westbound lanes. Westbound lanes totally shut down. 3 months. It takes 3 months for them to do that. And then they will open that up, and then they'll shut down the eastbound lanes. Totally shut down. So that forces a lot of people potentially off at Smith Road onto 561. The other state route that runs through the city. So we are working to get them to rehab 561 before this project so that all that influx of new traffic has a good street to run on, and working to make sure that the city is prepared for that. We heard today from ODOT that they are moving up the project on the lateral, and they actually have another project that is at the 75 Norwood Lateral interchange, and they're going to be shutting down that interchange for a while, so you won't be able to run across the lateral and jump on 75, which threw us for a loop because the timing of that, and we've been working with ODOT on this timing and trying to figure out what's the best way and how can we be the most prepared for this influx of new vehicular traffic. So we're working on that. So I hit sort of all three of these. Montgomery Road is slated for 2024, 2025, but we will start doing pedestrian improvements. We received some money from the state and from SORTA to do some pedestrian improvements on the main Montgomery Road thoroughfare. Remember, these state routes have not been repaved for 25 years, probably more than that. They should be paved many times more. I mean, when it was finished the first time, there's no reason for a state route not to get repaved sooner than that. So we're behind the 8 ball. Not only are we behind the 8 ball now, but then ODOT's got all this major work they want to do on the lateral. So that puts us in an even different position. So we've got to really work hard, and Noah and our engineering team are working hard to sort of coordinate these things and make things happen. So any questions on that big ODOT infrastructure improvements? It is a big amount of work. And
when will that start, like the Smith and Carthage and Norwood lateral? Like this year or next year?
we are pushing, because of their increased timeline, we're pushing for the Smith and Carthage stuff to be started by the end of this year. Noah, am I correct? 23rd or in 2023? If we can make it happen. There are all sorts of ODOT hoops to jump through, and we're going to continue to work with ODOT. The ODOT team recognizes the challenges. They live in the areas. A couple of them live in the area also. They recognize, how much of a regional effect this can have as you close down the Norwood lateral. So they're willing to jump through some hoops and help us make things happen. But we're just little Norwood, and we're just little, what is it? Area 8, Section 8 of ODOT. They've got all the other ones, but we're going to work to make it happen sooner than later. So that and it is definitely a matter of us wanting these improvements in our community, but there's a definite need, driving force, reason why they should be doing these sooner. So.
Can I ask a question? Is there any thought on Highland because of that? Because people are going to shoot straight up Forest and hit Highland hard, and when people are parked there, you can't get two cars down there.
No, Highland's not a state route. It's a city. It would be a city improvement. That's something that Noah and our traffic engineering people are going to have to look at. And we're going to have to be, we talked about being flexible on this stuff. We talked about it with ODOT on light timing, the traffic light timing, and doing different things. If we've got a major influx of new traffic coming on 561 and using that instead of the Norwood lateral, the light timing is not going to be, it can't be the same. They're going to have to look at that stuff too. So you bring up a good point. It's going to hit everywhere. What we don't want to do is have all this new traffic coming into our neighborhood. 561 gets so backed up and is such a mess that everybody's running on Washington Avenue. Right. Or Highland Avenue. We don't, one of the big things we've always said as a traffic calming part is keep them on the main thoroughfares. And if the main thoroughfares are running well, you keep them out of the neighborhoods, and you don't have to worry as much about traffic calming. But that's something we've definitely got to look at in all the different areas, and we're going to have to be flexible and moving to make those things happen. Did I go past one here? Other projects, Region Avenue, construction's been completed. Slane Avenue, construction's been completed. Maybe I was on this one already, but streets resurfaced. If you look, there's a whole list of streets that have been resurfaced. This is more streets that have been resurfaced in the last 3 years than were resurfaced probably in the last 20 years in the city of Norwood. We've put a lot of time and effort and energy into this. Tim, you're probably looking at this saying Williams Avenue is not on there, but a large part, in front of the school, Williams Avenue, the school board area, and then the UDF area got resurfaced, and Williams Avenue is beautiful there, partially because of our relationship with UDF, but that's another street that we actually should have on here. It's one that got done in the last few years. Varloman and Varloman Court, Arklow Court are being completed. Lincoln is on track, so we should have that completed also. And then pedestrian safety improvements along Montgomery Road that I'd mentioned. Those are all upcoming here pretty quickly. Lincoln, Ralston, South Jefferson. I've said many a times, you wish all these things you could just say, well, we're going to do that next year. We're going to do this one next year. But we are trying to utilize all the funds that the city has for street improvements in the best way possible, which means we are applying for grants, we're applying for loans, we're trying to use county money, we're trying to use state money, we're trying everything we can to make our money go as far as it can go and get these resurfacing projects done. And we've been pretty successful with the applications we've put in. Drainage improvements, Elm Avenue storm sewage, coming to a catch basin near you. We've completed 20, we've got many more to do. We are working, ADA compliance are all required. Oh, sorry. Elm Avenue. Thanks for I was thinking, what's that mean? What are they telling me? Oh, okay. So we've got ADA requirements are met as we reconstruct and rebuild our infrastructure. This last part I put in here is something that's important for a lot of people to understand is, you know, we set up the infrastructure, the stormwater infrastructure, the drainage system is set up. There's a certain criteria that the engineers say it's going to run across the you know, above ground. There's a certain amount that they say this catch basin will be able to take this much underground. But they can't engineer it for worst case scenarios or for some of the storms that come through. So you're going to see backed up. At times you're going to see catch basin that backs up and the water continues on down the street to the next catch basin or continues and runs off. But you can only engineer so much. We hope to have this Elm Avenue storm sewer project completed in the next year, but it's a major project, and that's a flooding project or flooding problem that has plagued Elm Avenue. The street out there has been for years and years. So hopefully we can get that taken care of. Talking about City Hall, the continuous improvement plan. This is the same slide we did, the same slide you saw before. This is one that we continue to do at City Hall. We are definitely trying to justify the need, make sure we know the root cause. Verifying the resources. I talked about verifying the resources and trying to use them. And then also, you know, the last part of that, and I know I skipped a few of these stages, but the last part of that is studying the results and making sure that we did achieve what we were trying to achieve. City Credo, these are some of the things that we basically say. One of the things that I should point out as I talk about the City Credos, Noah Powers is our safety service director who does just a phenomenal job, not just in his daily routine and the administrative stuff that he's doing, but he's doing an incredible job with the staff. So they have staff meetings, and I'm not involved in these staff meetings. Noah runs these staff meetings. And each of his staff meetings, he's working on training. He's working on elevating the level of expertise and the level of professionalism and the level of pride that these people have, that the leaders of these departments have. One of those leaders came to me and said, you know, he gave us some homework. We're supposed to work and give sort of a presentation to all of our peers. And he said, that's the greatest thing, because that's what we need. And we need to be critiqued by our peers, because these people are sometimes thrown into situations where they have to do some public speaking or they have to talk in front of a group. But this person was very happy with that. And I really have to give kudos to Noah for that, because he's working to develop a team. And this is a team that can't be beat. And I really think that we've hired the right people in the city of Norwood to keep moving us forward. So success is always a group effort. Other people usually mean well, giving people the benefit of the doubt. And I think that's an important part both ways. You know, the community that we work for and work with have to give us the benefit of the doubt. Why are we doing it? And what's the positive aspects of it, instead of just jumping the wrong direction? Best case and worst case scenario never happen. I'm not losing sleep over that worst case scenario. We can't go forward that way. So we work off of that. Nobody's perfect, and neither is the city. And I think this applies to businesses also. And, you know, it says, just as you must forgive, understand, and work with the limitations of people you meet, you must forgive, understand, and work with the limitations of the city or your business or your company, or however you want to put it. Expecting perfection is a certain recipe for disappointment. All we can do is work forward. You know, instruct, help, learn ourselves, you know, explore new ideas, and get better. And we are doing that at the city of Norwood. So this is a slide that was up previously. I changed it a little bit because I added the incredible schools. Our school district has made great strides. It's such a great asset to our community. Or maybe our community is such a great asset to the schools, but we are working well. We're working with the school district. Our schools are beautiful now. We've really moved in such a strong direction. Parks, recreation facilities, you know, events, all of that stuff keeps people here. And for businesses, of course, same thing. I say location, infrastructure, qualified staff, you know, all the things that are important. Last slide. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want it to go far, go together. We're going far and we're going together. We're working together. We're here to work with you. The city is here to work with our business leaders and our businesses. We're here to help however we can. Thank you for your energy and efforts on a regular basis within your organization, but also helping our community thrive. We really appreciate it. And the last part, actually, I don't see anybody snoozing off back there. So Tyler, but he was leaning on the camera. I don't know. That is it. That's the sort of the state of the city. Do we have any questions, anything? Thank you. No questions? Any? Sure.
The water meter, how is that read? Does a vehicle have to drive by, or how's the signal sent?
You do not have to, it doesn't have to drive by it. There's a receiver and it goes directly to City Hall.
Just like your gas electric.
Yeah.
Well, the gas electric goes over electric lines.
No, it's RFI, it's radio frequency, and there's not a vehicle that has to drive by. The water meter reader is worried that he's going to be out of a job. No, he's not. He's got plenty of work. There's plenty of work. We've got over 700 residential water meters. There's always going to be something going on where we need those people too. So
I'll say, it took the guy out of his truck to going back to his truck, and in between replacing it took him 5 minutes. So
yeah,
there was no bother for me. Actually, replacing it probably took him about 3.
really.
It kind of helped that I had a ball valve shut off, so he didn't have to do it outside.
That's the best case scenario. I've heard some worst case scenarios on that too. But it's not a perfect, I mean, that's exactly how we'd want it to happen. But when you're replacing a water meter that's been on a pipe for 45 years, it's not going to be a perfect bam. In a lot of situations it is. These guys are pros, they know what they're doing. But there are other times where you have to bring Public Works out. They've got to shut off the valve at the street. That's not always easily done because that hasn't been. So, any other questions?
I was just curious. I drove by City Hall a few weeks ago and I saw it looked like a movie production.
Yeah. Well, what we were doing is I just put in my petition to run for mayor, and I was doing a movie in there for my producing. No, it was actually that we are doing, or there was a movie that was shot there on a Friday. Robert De Niro was on location, and we rented out council chambers, which we're rehabbing, so it was perfect timing because we made a little bit of money off of them to help out with the council chamber stuff. But there were 200 people there, there were extras there, they had trailers all over the place. I wasn't at City Hall that day, but from what I understand, you pretty much couldn't walk through the halls, the big hallways in City Hall, because there were so many people and so much equipment and different things going on. The movie is called Wise Guys, and it'll be out. I mean, they filmed in different locations, but that's actually the third movie for the city of Norwood. The first one was a movie with Tom Selleck. Tom Selleck, that was in the middle school gymnasium, the men's gymnasium, what we can call the wrestling room. And then the second one was the movie that was filmed at the Playing Card Company just a few years ago. That was Bruce Willis. It won an Emmy and an Oscar and a... Okay, it didn't. Okay, it didn't do that well. But it wasn't because of Norwood. And then the last one was this one, which is Wise Guys, that'll come out and should be fun to see. That's it.
The school film club went and did a field trip there with
Mindful of your time, what I'd like to get everybody out before 1:30. I'd like to have the members of the Chamber Board, Tim Kling, Donna Lake, Mary C. Miller, Tim Blankenhorn, Tracy Tomer, Stephanie Down, Jim Perry, and new members, Julie Peter and Eric Haynes, please come forward. Mike, you can come up too, even though you're the city's liaison, just for a quick installation.
I get the privilege of swearing all of them in. Please raise your right hand. Got one more. Come on, Stephanie. Quick.
Come on.
She likes to make an entrance.
No, I'm in charge of our social media, and I asked Josh to.
Oh, yeah, somebody's got to take a picture of this.
Oh.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. In accordance with the Norwood Chamber of Commerce bylaws,
in accordance with the Norwood Chamber of Commerce bylaws.
I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
to uphold the purposes
to uphold the purposes
and to actively support
and to actively support
the programs and activities of this organization
the programs and activities of this organization
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
As mayor of the city of Norwood, I hereby officially install you as officers and trustees for the year 2023. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's it. Thank you. I'll shake each one of your hands.
Congratulations, congratulations.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Okay, thank you.